Hello friends, Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works workshop. We got one, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I know it's really dumb to say this, but we got a really quick, simple project here. They always bite me in the rear when I say that. Always. Well, I don't know. This one should be simple. It should be. Look what it is though. Can you tell what it is? I bet you can't tell what that is, or at least a lot of you. Some of you will know right away, of course, if you play one. Well, it's an octave mandolin. Octave mandolin is just a fancy word for a bigger mandolin. I don't play one. I know absolutely nothing about one. I am not going to sit here and tell you I'm an expert. I am not. What I do know is the mechanics of making an instrument play well. And apparently this one doesn't, and that's the problem. Apparently it's buzzing, especially on the A string, which I think is the bottom string on an octave mandolin, although I'll have to look that up even, because I'm not sure. But anyway, the customer sent this from Texas. It appears to be brand new. I think it is brand new. You know, the action's not too bad. What I noticed instantly is the strings are pretty darn flat, but yet there's a radius fingerboard. The saddle back here is a little bit radius, but the nut up here is just perfectly flat. So, you know, maybe that's part of the issue. I'm not really sure. He also wants me to put strap buttons on it. So basically it's fix the buzz, make it play good, and put strap buttons on it. Let's get started. I'm going to start by putting the strap buttons on. Those are easy and quick. The tail strap button will just go right here in the center, basically. This one, you know, a lot of people do it in a lot of different ways. I'm going to tell you why I think the way I do it is the right way. Everybody's got their opinion. A lot of people would just stick it right on the end here. And in my opinion, that is absolutely the wrong place to put a strap button. If you hang your strap on here, the instrument when you're standing up will fall forwards and pull right off of the button here. It's not a good place. Other people will stick them straight in the middle here like this. Now this one is especially bad for that because it's got this very sharp edge here, very sharp. As a matter of fact, you could almost cut yourself on that, it's so sharp. And but where I always put a strap button on a neck, whether it's a guitar or anything else, is I put it about right here, roughly, you know, sort of in the center of this area. You know, you may not be able to get it dead center, but anyway, I put it in this area on the bottom side of the neck, and I angle it straight out from whatever the angle is here on the neck. So I put it square to that angle, whatever that angle is. And the reason I do that, when you put your strap on that button, my fingers being the strap in this case, you can see how it cradles this, and it'll hang, and it'll just hang, and there's not a problem, and it won't twist, and it won't, you know, and the actual strap wrapping around the heel right here is even additional support. So it's the perfect place to put a strap button. So that's where we're going to put it. We're going to put it right there, coming out at basically a flat angle to that, whatever that angle is right there. Another important aspect of putting a strap button on, or any kind of a screw in an instrument, and it really doesn't matter if it's strap or for some other purpose, whenever you're wanting to put a screw in any kind of wood, the thing that I always do is I take my drill bit and I lay it, and I'll try to do it like if it was my eye. And I take the drill bit and I lay it on the screw, and I want to be able to see threads on top and bottom of that screw. And I don't know if you can see that there, but if I hold it just right, you can see threads coming over the top and the bottom of the screw. That means that this is the proper size bit for that screw. And that's what you want to see. So that's how I always do it. Apparently the customer had already thought about doing this themselves because there's already a pencil mark here. The mark that the customer made is here, and it's already in the appropriate place. Now I like to take something like an awl and press on there, and then just kind of wiggle it around it just makes an indentation there so that you don't have to worry about the drill bit wandering. And then I just try to, hold it between my legs or whatever to get a straight line going. We've got the screw here, and what I always do on screws going into an instrument is I always take wax and I just rub the screw against that wax like that, and that puts enough wax down in those threads that that screw will drive much easier than without the wax. And the reason I do that is so that we don't end up stripping out the head of this, or making it so tight you break the screw off or whatever. Because you are going into, most of the time, you're going into hard wood. And if you properly size the bit to the screw, it should go in pretty easy, actually. The only negative of the wax thing is some of the wax will peel off here and, get under your screw. It's not a big deal, whether it stays there or not. I just don't like to see it sticking out, so. All right. And then you just go down to snug tight, where it doesn't move. You don't need to go cranking on it. Perfect. There's a perfect installation on that one. Now we'll do this one. I don't ever really measure this one. I just lay this on here and get it approximately in a good spot like so, where I think it looks good and that it looks like it's hitting at the right angle. And then I'll just take my awl and put a mark right where I think that is. And then we'll just go in at that same square angle from that, whatever that angle is on this heel, that's the square angle you want to go to. Wow, they must have something metal in there because I hit it, whatever that is. Yep, there's metal coming out. Well, I never expected that. Oh, they have a bolt-on neck. There you go. And wouldn't you know, I had to hit it. Well, that's not good. I ain't gonna lie to you, I hit the bolt. So, question is, do I have enough length here to go on this and before I bottom out on the bolt? We may have to put a shorter screw in, I don't know. I'm waxing up the screw. I never thought about a bolt-on neck on this, really, because it doesn't look like it needs a bolt-on neck. So I didn't even look in there. So let that be a lesson to you, look in there first. And let's see if it's going to tighten up or not. I'm afraid I'm going to run out of threads before I get down in there. So far I haven't hit it. Just about perfect, I think. We had just enough room. Yep, it's good and snug. It didn't really hurt anything, but we did hit the bolt that works with the bolt-on neck. Okay, so that's fine. It's going to be perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The only regret is I didn't look in there first. I should have looked in there, but even if I had, I don't know what I would do differently because that's still where I want the strap button. Okay, so we've got the two little things out of the way. The strap buttons are on, and we're good there. Now let's see what we can do about finding the buzz and seeing what the problem is. First thing I'm going to do, and I always do this, is I'm going to look right down the fretboard and see if I see any irregularities. And if I see anything irregular at all, there's just two little minor things, and both of them are very minor. There's a tiny hump here at the body attachment, which is kind of normal. And there is just maybe a hair more underbow than it might need. And I mean really very, very, very slightly amount more than it might need. Generally speaking, the rule of thumb is if you can see it, you probably have too much. I'm very keen at looking at that, and I can see a very small amount. And if anything, it might be a couple thousandths too much, but it's not much. It's very close to correct. I'm going to just loosen the strings just a hair and just check the truss rod first and see if it feels snug. If it feels snug, I may turn it less than a quarter of a turn. But I want to loosen the strings first because I don't want to be fighting against the strings when I tighten up the truss rod. I want the neck to be free to move is the main reason. And let's see if this will be the right wrench. It generally is. Yep, looks like it is. And I turned it maybe an eighth of a turn there. See if I can turn it just a hair or more. Just a little bit more. Okay, so that's less than a quarter of a turn, I believe. Looks really flat with no tension on it. Looks really flat. So hopefully it'll stay that way when we tension it back up. So let's tune it back up and then see where the buzz is. Okay, I'm just going to be brutally honest. I looked it up to see how this was tuned because I don't know. I don't deal in octave mandolins, as I mentioned. And apparently they're tuned exactly like a regular mandolin, except that they're just an octave lower. That's what I found on Wikipedia. Now, I imagine there's other ways to tune them as well. I thought that it was probably C, G, D, A is what I thought it was, but obviously it's G, D, A, E, just like a mandolin. Well, when I tune it up like that, my first thought was to tune this A, I tuned the A to an A note, but I noticed the strings were really loose, and it would buzz like crazy if I did that, and it was, so in other words, an octave low. But now that I've tuned it up to the proper octave, I don't hear any buzzing at all. Anyway, as far as I can tell, it's fine. Let me play a little bit and just see what you think. I don't know how to play one of these other than just fake it here, but... hear any buzzing. Okay, the action, like I said, feels a little high to me. Actually, when I check it though, it's not very high. As a matter of fact, it's pretty darn close. I don't really see a problem. The G strings here are just maybe the hair slightly high. But I mean, like, it's not really worth dealing with. So the action is pretty good, really. It just feels, I'm just not used to playing one so big, I guess, with such a big neck in that mandolin style, and it just feels high to me, but it really isn't high. We'll check it down here at the 12th fret to just see what it's at. I don't really know what a good measurement would be. This is 80 thousandths, it's right on the money. So I don't feel like that's high either. So I think we're good. I did tighten the truss rod a little bit. I called the customer on this just to make sure that I wasn't missing something because I couldn't find a buzz. Well, he said it buzzed on the A string when it was open. Well, I checked that. I didn't hear a buzz. What I did do, though, was I tapped on this. And of course, the strings are loose now, so that's probably what you're hearing now. But I'm going to try to hold the strings here, and when I tap on this, I was hearing something inside the body, and it sounded like it could be maybe where the neck is bolted on. I thought maybe that washer could be loose because I'm hearing something rattle. When it was at full tension and I tap on the peg head, I'm hearing something rattle in the body. I'm not hearing it rattle up here. So I went ahead and removed the strings because there's no way to get in there to this thing. Well, there's always more than one way to skin a cat. Let's see if we can line it up with this. So that's probably tight. So that's probably not where it's rattling. I'm going to see. I'm going to hold these strings out of the way. Tap this body and see if I hear anything rattling here. It's not the. It's not this. That's very tight. That's not going to rattle. It's not this one here. It's good and tight. I don't think it's going to rattle. I don't hear it rattling when I tap on the body. I heard it rattling when I tapped up here. But I don't hear it now that it's not under tension. So I don't know what it could be. I don't know how to explain it. Unless it was the truss rod itself somehow rattling. So I'm going to string it back up again and see what happens. I noticed this pin when I started to put it back in there is split. You know, maybe that was causing a rattle somehow with the eyelet. I don't know. But I will see if I can maybe glue that back down and get it tight before I put it back in there. Okay, I got that pin repaired and going to put it back in there now. I don't know that that has anything to do with anything, but you never know. It looked suspicious, so there you go. Well, I got her tuned back up, and that mystery buzz is back. Can you hear that rattle? Well, I think I figured out what it is. Although, can you see what the problem is? Can you see it? Because it is visible. It's this screw here, I believe, is loose. And maybe all the screws are loose. So we'll check that. I think that's what's rattling. It's definitely loose. And I can... Anyway, so let's see if that's the problem. So we'll hold that in place. Tighten that screw up. It was about to fall out. Tighten it up good and snug. Make sure all the rest of them are good and snug. That one's loose. That one was a little loose. Yeah, not too bad. You got to be careful on tightening these. You can break the plastic. So you just want them good and snug. So those are all good and snug now. Let's just double check these screws here too, just to make sure that there's not something loose there that's rattling. Okay, now let's see if I hear a buzz. Nothing, absolutely nothing when I tap on it. Perfect now. Perfect now, I don't hear any more buzz. That could have been the buzz off of that A too. It's possible that that screw was vibrating to that A tone. I think we got her fixed.